from the Labour Party, with a lot of people saw this kind of subtle friendship, a similar friendship between the AC and your party. And when you moved...
No, you said it all. It was subtle. Because at that time, we were all victims of the jackpot politics of that era. And you see there's a way victims come together, especially when they want to redress injustice. But in terms of the fact, I was from PDP, and I looked at the core values. And even when you look at the ideological spectrum, I also believe that PDP is more to the left, more progressive than APC. Why? Why? Number one, when you talk of progressivism, number one thing that comes to mind is your education policy. To what extent have you broadened access, improved access, democratized access to education? For me, that is very key, very key. I looked at the program of the president. In just 2 years, that guy built 12 universities, built our marjorie schools. You see, the essence of this is that here is a president who understands the value of education. Like I said, we're making a lot of investment in education because that is the future. 2 million or so people sit for JAMB every day. The total capacity of our university system, I understand, is under 400,000. So there are at least 1.5 million Nigerians every year thirsting for tertiary university education. It took a president who understands the value of investment in education, who understands the value of broadening access to education, to put those universities together.
Well, I'm sure you know what the critics will say in terms
what would they say?
About, these universities, and we do not know for sure they have been built. We know that they were proposed.
Yes.
But we also saw that prolonged strike action with ASU.
Yes.
In terms of funding for the ones already on the ground.
There's always been strike action. Let me tell you what happened. There was a need assessment that was carried out in all Nigerian universities, both state universities and federal universities. There's no question about the fact there's infrastructural gap. There's no question about that. ASU went on this prolonged strike, but at the end of the day, an agreement was struck. And I say this because I run a state with 3 tertiary institutions. I know that a lot of funding has come through TED fund from the federal government to improve on infrastructure in those schools. Then again, it's a question of priority and choice. You may have 2 universities in the whole country and not fund those universities. You may have 50 and fund them right. There's no question about the fact that there's no argument anybody can bring forward to reduce the value of improved access to education. That's what the president has done.
I want to quickly, before we go to what's happening at the federal level and before we switch to politics, I was going to ask you quickly what the idea behind the mega schools.
Again, the idea behind the mega school, again, for us, it's about access. It's about equity. We have found out that in the last 20, 30 years, there has been reduced investment in public schools, public health schools. And the resultant effect is that the output in terms of quality has reduced. Those who have the wherewithal, the common wherewithal in society, are sending their children to private schools, both in Nigeria and abroad.
So take it.
The result is that at the end of the day, if nothing is done to bridge that very dangerous gap. Education for those who are down there, the rung of the ladder, will no longer be available as a factor of social mobility. So what we have tried to do is to recreate public educational facilities, as it were.
The reason I asked that question is the concept behind it. I mean, usually you can have primary schools taking maybe 250.
No, the whole concept is, when you talk of mega, we are talking of mega in terms of the size, in terms of the facilities. All our schools come with computer laboratory, which you saw last night. It comes with health facility, the ambience of the environment, and those are children of ordinary folks. It is inequitable distribution of resources that we are trying to address, so that we give everybody opportunity, so that our own Albert Einsteins, because they don't have opportunity, will not waste away. So what we are doing is providing opportunity for everybody.
For the siting of those schools, do you think that it also puts some pressure on the children who might need to walk from, far and near to?
No. Well, we have cited the school within the neighborhoods. But most importantly, we have also appreciated the fact that transportation is a critical cost of education that people don't reckon with. When you say free education, the cost of transportation. There are families that have to spend 500 naira, 1,000 naira every day to transport their children to school. When I came in 2009, I saw a spectacle of 5 kids on Okada going to school or coming from school. And we said we had to stop that. That's why we put the bus shuttle system. All our kids ride buses to and from schools free of charge to them as part of the investment. So the distance of the mega schools don't really matter, but we try as much as possible to put them within the neighborhood where they are accessible.
Let me read Busayo's comments. He says, to remind you of your promise to the Federal Polytechnic, Ile-Oluji.
Let me respond to that. Again, I was talking of improved access to tertiary education. The president set up polytechnics. We are one of the beneficiaries of the Federal Polytechnic set up in Ile-Oluji. It's been announced by the federal government. In the next couple of weeks, the principal officers will be named, and I'm sure before February, the polytechnic will take off. It's a federal polytechnic. Mr. President is committed to it. Some money has been set aside for the takeoff, and even the state government will augment to ensure that we have a smooth takeoff. I still spoke with the Minister of Education, Alhaji Shekarau, about 2-3 days ago, and he said the memo is ready. He will take it to Mr. President in the course of the week. And once the principal officers are named, and we've gotten the site, the takeoff site, we've done all that we need to do, the Polytechnic will take off. So besides you rest easy, the Polytechnic is ready to go.
Why was started the program?
Thanks to President Jonathan. I mean, that must be emphasized.
Well, speaking about politics again, why we started the program this morning? We started off talking about the agreement, the non-violence pact signed by politicians. I think there were about 12 presidential candidates in that meeting. But there are reports now coming about publications, reactions, and with the tendency for violence. What can you say?
One of the things I have learned in the course of my political career is that leadership has a lot of influence on followership. The disposition of leadership invariably translates in a way to the disposition of followers. See, for example, let's take President Jonathan, for example. This a man has come up and pronounced that my ambition is not worth the blood of any Nigerian. He has come out clearly to say, please don't rig elections for me. He has come out clearly to say, whatever the outcome, I'm ready. You see, that type of disposition can never encourage violence from his followers. But when a man says that was a statement made in 2012 or so, that if I lose the next election, of course, the man who loses may call it rigging or whatever. But the essence of that is that if the outcome does not favor me, I talked about monkeys and baboons soaked in blood. Such blood imagery cannot help the cause of